Hello, my name is David Rabiner, and I'm the Director of the Academic Advising Center, also known as the AAC. If you're on campus this fall, and I hope you will be, you'll find us on East Campus behind the marketplace. Everyone at the AAC is committed to helping you have the best educational and personal experience at Duke that you can. Our goal is to help students find the academic path at Duke that's right for them, and we know that strong advising can play an important role in helping you to do that. Because Duke offers so many academic and co-curricular opportunities for students to choose from, it's not possible for any single advisor to be well informed about everything. And because of that, we have a network of advisors to support you in addition to your assigned academic advisor. This graphic illustrates the people in your advising network. Your network includes your assigned college advisor, your academic dean, specialized advisors in our office that we call Directors of Academic Engagement, or DAEs for short, peer advisors, pre-professional advisors in the areas of health, business, and law, advisors in other offices like the Academic Resource Center and the Career Center, and of course your faculty. These different members of your advising network have different areas of expertise and can help you in different ways. I'm now going to show a short video that gives you an overview of your advising network and the ways that different people in your advising network are able to support you.
Welcome. The Academic Advising Center on East Campus coordinates academic advising for Trinity College students from before they arrive at Duke until they declare their majors as sophomores. Many people can become important mentors to you. It's helpful to think about having a network of supporting individuals and not just a single advisor. At Duke, your network will include your assigned college advisor and academic dean, directors of academic engagement, peer advisors, pre-professional advisors, and faculty advisors within departments and programs. Your college advisor will be assigned later this summer. We call this individual your college advisor and not your academic advisor because their role goes beyond helping you choose classes and understand requirements to include helping you to think about your overall educational and personal goals, possible majors and careers, alerting you to resources and interesting co-curricular opportunities, among other things. Because their role is to advise you broadly and not on a specific academic pathway, be aware that your college advisor may not have similar academic interests to you. You are required to meet your college advisor during orientation week and prior to registering each semester, and we hope there will be other times you may get together just to check in and chat. Additionally, you will have a strong, well-rounded advising experience by reaching out to others in your advising network. You'll have the same academic dean during your entire time at Duke. Deans monitor students' academic progress, help students understand academic policies, and support students during challenging times. A meeting with him or her during your first year will likely help you uncover other resources you didn't know you wanted or needed. Directors of Academic Engagement provide specialized advising about global and civic opportunities, the arts and humanities, social sciences, and the natural and quantitative sciences. DAEs can alert you to opportunities that match and extend your interests, help you integrate your curricular and co-curricular interests, and offer you tools to think about the big picture of how you spend your time at Duke. This is a particularly useful perspective for students to get during their first year. Peer advisors are students trained by the Academic Advising Center to provide advising from a student perspective. They are a great resource to which you have direct access as they are assigned to first-year residence halls. Each first-year dorm also has a pre-health advisor who is a resource for students in that residence. There are also deans who provide pre-law and pre-business advising, and you can contact them at any time. Faculty are important advisors, and getting to know your professors will enrich your time at Duke. Every department also has a director of undergraduate studies who oversees the major. They work with all students, not just students who have already declared a major. They can help you learn more about the major, how to get engaged in research, and many other things. Don't hesitate to reach out to them. Duke is a complicated place, and your college advisor, though a dedicated and informed advocate, cannot meet all your advising needs. Take time in your first year to connect with others in your advising network so you can know which resource is best for you when you have specific needs and questions. If you do, you should have an experience with advising that contributes significantly to your time at Duke. You can learn more about advising resources available to you on the Academic Advising Center's website.
I hope that video gave you a good overview of your advising network at Duke and how different members of your advising network are able to help you. I'd especially like to highlight the importance of meeting with at least one of our DAEs at some point in your first year. These specialized advisors have more knowledge of opportunities available for undergraduates in their area of specialization than just about anybody else at Duke. They're a fantastic resource for students, and to book an appointment with them, all you need to do is go to our website at advising.duke.edu and schedule a time online that's convenient for you. We know that students who build a relationship with their college advisor and who reach out to other people in their advising network have a strong advising experience at Duke, and this can make a real difference in your Duke education. We hope that in your first year, you'll make that effort, and I can assure you that everybody at the Academic Advising Center is looking forward to working with you.